Well, today we start a new sermon series titled Christian. It's going to last for 6 weeks. And I want to start with some brand recognition. And the way that this is going to work, this is for you to play as well. I'm going to show a logo of a brand, and I don't want you to overthink it. Just call out what the brand is and call out what it does, like what its product is. Okay? Everybody understand? You with me? Say yeah. Yeah. Even if you don't want to do this, just say yeah. All right, here we go. Okay, the first one. Apple. And they do what?
Technology.
Everything, right? Computers, technology, iPhones, right? I mean, this is being run on an Apple, right? So, okay, next one.
Mercedes.
What do they do? Cars. Expensive cars, right? Not just cars, expensive cars. Yeah, right? All right, this one might be a little harder. You ready? NBC. What do they do? Broadcasting television shows. They are the people that put on Cheers. You guys remember Norm from last week, right? So NBC, Norm, right? Okay, here we go. Just a few more. Superman. What does Superman do? Saves lives, right? Right? The superhero, okay? James Bond, what does he do?
James Bond.
He's a spy, right? He saves lives, he gets the bad guys, and he gets the girl, right? James Bond. Okay, last one, ready? Ooh, that's a little more difficult, isn't it? Right? What do they do? Yeah, well, double ordination, I mean, come on. Right, I mean, that's my point. Is that this one's a little more difficult. This one has a lot more to it. It's a loaded symbol, it's a loaded logo. There's a lot going on there. Each of us came to this in a different sort of way. Now, some of you became a Christian because you prayed the prayer. There was like some sort of special prayer, right? Maybe it's a sinner's prayer, especially maybe if you grew up in the South, this is kind of a thing, Baptist tradition. Or maybe you were baptized like before you even knew what the world was. You were an infant, your parents decided to baptize you, and you were a Christian before you even knew what television or anything else was, right? Or perhaps you like went through a class, and you took a test or you did a testimony, and you were confirmed into the Christian church. All of us seem to come to this in a different sort of way. Right? Maybe you grew up in a tradition, if you're following along your bulletins, this is the fill-in part. Maybe you grew up in a tradition that said your brand was the true brand. Maybe you came out of a church that said, hey, don't listen to anybody else. Our way is the only way. So part of the Catholic Church says that, hey, we're the church. So whenever you talk about the church, you're talking about us. Whereas the Protestants would reply, hey, you're not the church, you're just part of the church, and we're part of the church as well. We're all part of the same thing. There's a whole lot of diversity in the midst of it. And some of us, we grew up just hearing, hey, our way is the only way, and then you get out into the world, you encounter that people are engaging in Christianity in different sorts of ways. This is why, if I was to group you guys into groups of like 10, and ask you, what is Christian? That you all would come up with probably a variety of different answers. This is why if somebody was to walk up off the street and ask you, hey, are you Christian? Some of you would say yes. Others of you would say yes, but. I need to qualify that. Others of you would say no, but there's some places where I'm alive. And others of you would say, and let's just be honest, that no way am I a Christian. I can't stand Christians. I hate Christians. It just gives me the creepy crawlies. Because for some of you, and maybe it's not you, but maybe you know somebody like this, and maybe it's not because of churches like ours, but because of the wider culture, that Christian has become a name that represents something that you don't want to be part of. I'm going to put a definition up on the screen here in a moment. And it's not necessarily my definition of Christian, but it's a definition that I think some people have felt. It is not a good definition, so brace yourselves. For some people, because of what they've been exposed to in terms of Christianity, this is what they think of us. Christians are judgmental, homophobic, moralists, who think they're the only ones going to heaven and secretly relish the fact that everyone else is going to hell. I get an amen. Anybody ever experienced that? I mean, I'm not saying this is your experience, but some people have felt this way. Now, if this troubles you, I got some good news for you today. Because this definition of Christian is not in the Bible. And the reason it's not in the Bible is because the word Christian is not defined in the Bible. In fact, the word Christian is used in the Bible 3 times and never by Jesus. We only see this term Christian, which has become a defining term for us, even though we have a hard time defining it. We only see it 3 times in the Bible, twice in the book of Acts and once in 1 Peter. And Jesus Christ, our leader, never ever uses it. So we're going to look at one of the examples of the use of this word Christian and just dig into this term a little bit more. Now, let me set the background. When Jesus was arrested and he was crucified, his followers were terrified, as you would be and as I would be. And so many of them, as a persecution in Jerusalem broke out, left the city of Jerusalem. They began to scatter all over the Roman Empire. And there's a city to the north, a several days journey called Antioch. And some of those original followers of Christ, they went up to Antioch and they began to share with their Greek-speaking neighbors about this guy who came and did ministry among them, who was crucified and then rose again. And they started spreading the word about this, and it was so compelling that this movement of followers, these Greek-speaking people, started to follow this new way of being in the world. And it became so big that word got down to the they. You know, there's always a they, like an authority. Down to the they, the Peter and James and John back in Jerusalem. And they started to say, hey, this is amazing. We need to go check out this Antioch church and see what's going on. So they've got one of their guys, one of the early converts, Barnabas, who his name means son of encouragement. And they say, hey, Barnabas, we want you to go up to Antioch and go see what's happening. Go check this out. Maybe go give them some encouragement. Go support them. So Barnabas goes up, and this movement's even bigger than he thought it was. And so he needs some help. And so that's where we're going to jump in the 11th chapter of Acts. It says, then Barnabas, we just talked about him, went to Tarsus, which is where Paul, who's later called Saul, is from, went to Tarsus to look for Saul, who later becomes Paul. You guys got that? I know that's a little confusing. So he goes to Tarsus to look for Saul, who later becomes Paul. And when he found Paul, he brought him back to Antioch. So for a whole year, Barnabas and Saul met with the church and taught great numbers of people, because there's this big group of people, because there's something going on. God is doing something new in the world. And Luke goes on to say, this is Dr. Luke, who's been kind of taking notes on all this. He says, the disciples were first called Christians, first at Antioch. So there you go. It is in Antioch that they're first called Christians. And they're called Christians not by themselves, but by some other people who are trying to figure out what they are. They're like, I don't know what this thing is. They're Christians. Oh, you know, like, that's what we'll call them. And so in Antioch, it's the first time. Now this is, several years after Jesus came around. Another example that is outside of the scripture where we get a notion that the Christians were called that by others, not people in the group, but from outside the group, is from this guy. His name is Tacitus. Tacitus is a Roman senator and a historian. In fact, he wrote about 4 different emperors during the 1st century. And one of the emperors that he wrote about was Nero. Some of you might have heard of Nero in high school or college. And what we know about Nero mostly comes from the historian Tacitus. We actually have some of his primary documents, some of the things that he wrote. And what you should need to know about Nero is that he became famous because he wanted to reconfigure Rome. He wanted to do some urban planning. He didn't like the layout. So Nero decided, as a Roman emperor, he was going to burn down a huge section of Rome, which he did. And whenever you burn down a bunch of people's homes and businesses, that's kind of really bad for business, right? It's bad for your politics. And so Nero had a dilemma. He had to find somebody else to blame for the fact that a big section of Rome was burned out. And so who did he blame? The Christian, right? And the reason we know this is because he wrote about it. Tacitus wrote about it. He says this: consequently, to get rid of the report that Nero burnt down a big section of Rome, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations, called Christians by the populace. Those Christians. Ugh. So this was not a term that people inside the church used. It was a term as a derogatory term that people from outside the church used. In fact, if you ever have a chance, maybe later today, you look up 1 Peter, you look for his use of Christians. He's talking about being persecuted for a variety of things, and one of the things to be persecuted for is being one of those Christians, because it was a derogatory term. Only later does the church take this term that was a form of hate speech, if you will, and turn it into their name. They embrace it. It's kind of like Hoosiers, right? Some of you know the history behind Hoosiers. Actually, it's a conflicted history, but Hoosiers wasn't necessarily a nice name to call somebody when the word first started coming around. But these people of Indiana just decided to go ahead and embrace that and make it be a wonderful word. Christians has the same sort of idea behind it. So they didn't call themselves Christians. They had a different word. They called themselves disciples. Disciples. Once you know this, and you start reading through the New Testament, you will see disciple all over the place. Let me give you an example. I'll go back to this. You've seen this already. The disciples were called Christians first at Antioch. So there it is. Disciples was their term, not Christians. Now, what is a disciple? Disciple means learner, pupil, apprentice, adherent, follower. A disciple is somebody that says, yes. I don't even know what your answer is going to be yet, but yes. I got this problem, I'm not sure what to do with it. I'm just going to do what you're doing, Jesus. A disciple is somebody that just says yes, that follows in the footsteps of the person whom they're the disciple to. So as a disciple of Jesus, the answer is just yes, Jesus, before we even looked at what Jesus said. That's a disciple. That's a follower. That's somebody who is learning how to walk in the way that Jesus walked. Now, because of this, because disciple is so specific, disciple is a terrifying term because it leaves us no room to hide. Christian can mean almost anything because it's undefined. You can be a Christian and be for almost anything. On any social issue, political issue, you have Christians on either side. But disciple? That's terrible. And it leads to an even more terrifying question. Are we disciples? Or are we just Christians? Are we disciples, followers, learners, pupils, saying yes? Or are we Christians who get to decide at any point in time what's most convenient for us because Christian is undefined? Now, Jesus, he defines exactly what he means by a disciple. He gives us if you don't do anything else, just do this sort of lesson. And this is not one of those scriptures that you are going to be surprised it's in the text. It's actually probably something you've heard before. And in fact, if you were here on my first day, I've taught on this already. But it's one of those foundational scriptures that we got to come back to over and over again. Because it's so easy to veer into Christian where we get to define whatever we want. And so Jesus, he's at the last night with his disciples. He's having the last Passover meal, right before he gets arrested. He has this last opportunity to teach them. And he begins teaching them like this. He says, my children, I will be with you only a little longer. You will look for me, and just as I told the Jews, so I tell you now, where I'm going, you cannot come. At this point, Peter perks up his ears. Say, well, wait a minute. No, we go with you. We're your disciples. We follow you. What do you mean you're going somewhere we can't come? But Jesus goes on. He says, a new commandment I give you. And the Greek word for new here, it means not necessarily like you haven't heard it before, but it means profound or unusual, or just look at this in a different sort of way. A new commandment I give you. Love one another. To which the disciples probably all thought, well, that's not new. I mean, that's in the Old Testament. In fact, Jesus, you've been teaching on this for a while. But Jesus goes on, says, as I have loved you, so you must love one another. Matthew, do you remember what you were doing when I found you? Yeah, I was a tax collector. Yeah, you were a traitor. And everybody, you remember where we went after I met Matthew, after I asked him to follow us? Yeah, we went to his house. You remember who was there? Yeah, a bunch of people that my mama told me not to hang around. Those other horrible tax collectors, all those other people. Do you remember how I resolved that conflict between you in Matthew? Remember how I journeyed with Matthew, the rest of you disciples, and I worked with you and helped you form relationships despite the fact that Matthew was a traitor and somebody that you were taught your entire life not to associate with? Remember how we did that? But Nathaniel, you guys don't remember this. Nathaniel, you remember what you said when your brother came and said that he found the Messiah? You remember what you said when you first heard about me? You said, can anything good come from Nazareth? I mean, you didn't just diss me, you dissed my entire town. And what did I do, Nathaniel? I welcomed you. I brought you in. I forgave you of that. I had relationship with you. This is what I'm talking about, guys. This kind of love. Yeah, they might have done wrong. They might have hurt you. They might have talked bad about you. But this kind of love. By this kind of love, everyone will know that you are what? My disciple. It's this that defines you. If you love one another. This is the thing that people will know. It is this kind of relationship with one another that will allow other people to see what this is all about. If you love one another as I have loved you. This is big. This is the central thing. If you forget everything else, do this. This will be the catalyst, the keystone habit that makes everything else work. It's huge. This brings me to my favorite part of the story. Peter raises his hand and Jesus is like, yeah, Peter. Simon Peter asks, Lord, where are you going? I mean, that love thing is great. Yeah, but where are you going? I want to go with you. I want to be with you. I'll die for you. To which Jesus later replies, hey, look, in just a few hours, a middle school girl is going to intimidate you out of even saying that you know me. But I'll die for you. I don't want you to die for me, Peter. I don't even want you to necessarily follow me. I want you to do something harder than dying for me, harder than following me. I want you to love these guys for the rest of your life. As I've loved you. No excuses, no barriers. Invested in them fully. Love them. Sometimes I think it'd be great if we could just engage in like a rebranding of the whole Christian thing. What if we could change the meaning to the simple one thing? That Christians are those people who love each other. That have this love with each other, that when you peer into those relationships, it is so compelling, it is so engaging, that you can't help but to be interested in it. And you might not want to be a Christian looking at it, but you certainly would want to work for one. Or you'd hire every Christian you could find, or you'd hope that your son or your daughter would be married to a Christian, because the way that they love each other, the way that they honor each other, the way they put each other first. What if that was what, when we put up a cross, every one of us was able to say, a love that is so compelling, that is so limitless. That is what a Christian is. It's not all these other things. It's not the rule keeping. It's not the judgment. It's not this, that, whatever. It is this unbelievable love that just compels people. And even if they're not quite sure that they want to be one, boy, they'd like to be around someone. What if we could rebrand what it means to be a Christian? So before we move on and close up the service, there's two things that I want to bring to you. Two things. The first one is that you would try this week. This one thing, loving like Jesus loved. That you would try it this week. And maybe not with everybody. Maybe you just pick the people in your household or the people at your work. You just focus on somebody and you say, it's going to be no excuses, no barriers. Maybe they were the one talking trash about you at work or saying something. Maybe they're the one that never gets it right. Maybe they're the one that never quite listens. And you're just going to decide to love them like Jesus would love them. Try it this week. For 10 days, maybe with your spouse, maybe with your kids. And I know, your spouse is not the most easiest person to love, or your kids, they're pretty bratty, or, your coworkers are just unbelievable. But that is the kind of love. I mean, Jesus, if you read him, he had people like Peter. Lord, where are you going? I mean, that's his question after he taught the most important thing to teach him. Constantly not getting it. What if you were to try this week? What if you were to do this? Now, it's not all going to work out if you try it, okay? I mean, Jesus ended up being crucified, so get ready, right? But, this is what it means to be a Christian. And it's not like if you go and love your spouse for 10 days straight like Jesus loved them, you're going to come back and say, hey, Pastor Scott, I did it, and now my husband or my wife is a totally different person and everything is perfect. It's probably not going to happen. This is not a means to an end. This is what it means to be a Christian, to be a disciple, is to love like Jesus. And it's better than Christian. It's the best thing that we can do. And if you give it a try this week, if you just invest in it, if you trust in it, removing the barriers, removing the excuses, removing the judgment of other people, just loving them. And if you don't know what it means to love them, here's what you do. You ask. You ask them, how can I love you? I want to love you this week. What can I do? And even more importantly, you ask God. God, I'm trying to love my wife. I'm trying to love my kid. I'm trying to love this coworker that's pretty much unlovable. I'm trying to love them. What would you have me do? God's going to answer that. He's going to give you something. Try that this week. And then one last thing. If you're one of those people that the word Christian is difficult for, if you're one of those people that maybe know somebody that the word Christian is really difficult because the experience you had or the experience your loved one had was a bad experience. They grew up in a church that confessed love but then was abusive. Or they grew up around parents that talked about Jesus but then acted the exact opposite of the way Jesus was. If your experience has been that, I would hate for you to lose what Jesus has done for you and can mean for you just because Christian has been so badly represented to you. Because Jesus brings us all onto common ground. It deals with something that we all have in common. The last thing in your bulletins is this. We all fall short not just of God's standards, but our own standards. We all have this in common. It's not about so much what God is saying to us, but each and every one of us, if we're honest, we've got some things we would like to be doing, some things we'd like to stop doing, and we struggle with those two things. That's your own standard. Nobody's even putting that on you. And all of us fall short of that. All of us struggle with that. In light of the life of Jesus and the integrity of his person, all of us are on common ground. This is a difficult place. And so all of us have to decide, what are we going to do with our failure, with our sin, with our shortcomings, with that feeling of that gap between us and the source of life of God. All of us are on that common ground, no matter where you're coming from, what your experience has been. And Jesus does something with that. He provides a solution. He has a message of forgiveness that can help us deal with that which we all have in common. So I hope that whatever Christianity has been represented to you, you don't miss what Christ has done for you. That he came to bring life, rebounding life, new life, resilient life, resurrected life, even in the midst of the most difficult circumstances. And just because you met some Christians that weren't really acting like Jesus, don't let that stand in the way. We're going to talk about that. So for all of you, what I hope you'll do is that you'll come back next week. Because we're just getting started on this topic, Christian. Please let me pray for you. If you'll bow your heads. Gracious Lord, some of us, we have encountered Christian in a way that has just made it so unappealing. Some of us have encountered it in a way that it's just lacks clarity. But Lord, you invite us to encounter your Son, the living Christ, who is embodied in the love of other people. And so, Lord, I ask that each person here might be touched by someone who is just loving them freely, without boundary, that their hearts might be healed. God, I ask that you will lift up the Spirit in each of us, including me, Lord, so that I'll stop making excuses, and so that everybody here would stop making excuses and just love someone. Just love them, be for them. Reach out to them. But Lord, this is what it means to be a disciple, and you called us to be disciples, to live lives that are abundant. We know that that is possible. We saw it in your Son, Jesus, and so make it so in our lives as well.